All right. How's everybody doing this morning? I hope your weekend's going well so far. And yeah, if you've been looking to buy some new gear this weekend, well, it's not a bad timing for that. There's definitely quite a bit of rebates going on right now. Although they're not as generous as last week, or at least from yesterday's number. So let's take a look at today's numbers real quick. So yeah, the overall pricing on the market right now is a little higher than I like. But even then, it's mostly because, well, it's that time of the year where old stock starts going out and new stocks starts coming in. So we've got quite a few rebates right now, but we have also a lot of full priced devices on the market in incoming at the same time. So that tends to stabilize the overall pricing, but underneath the whole thing, there are some deals definitely worth your time in there. So, for instance, my picks for accessories yesterday. Well, there was this numeric keypad, so especially interesting if your laptop has no built-in numpad on it, but you have to work in, let's say, spreadsheets such as Excel every once in a while and stuff like that. That and sometimes some even these desktop keyboard do not have a number pad. Some people find them more ergonomic with that narrower form factor. So if you need, if a numpad would come in handy every once in a while, well, something like that would definitely come in handy, and it's currently available for only $15 at Amazon. So yeah, it's a worthwhile investment if you have to work with numbers every once in a while, but don't have the numpad built in your keyboard already. Otherwise, I went wireless for keyboard and mouse this week, and sure, that wouldn't necessarily be my personal pick because, well, honestly, if I have to pick between cables and batteries, I think cables are usually the lesser evil. But let's face it, most people enjoy the convenience of having a wireless keyboard and all of that, so I went for that instead this week, especially since the wireless option is exactly the same price as the wired one. So for most people, it's going to be a plus, actually. You don't have to change the batteries on those really that often or anything like that. This is not a rechargeable model or anything. It's just your uh, run-of-the-mill Logitech branded keyboard and mouse combo, which is great value, especially if you just, you're looking to make your workplace a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more ergonomic. And without spending too much money on it, you just want to maybe prop that laptop up a little bit, and all of a sudden you need a keyboard and mouse. And I don't know if it's uh, the small form factor receiver on this one or the big one. So that might change, but some of those receivers are even small enough that you could just leave the receiver in and wouldn't be much of an hindrance. So yeah, there's definitely the wireless nature adds quite a bit of flexibility, especially if your tower is somewhere in a slightly inconvenient position, or if you're using a laptop, or that sort of thing. So it can come in handy for those situations. And to complete your desktop setup, 22-inch IPS LED monitor could definitely help to create that comfortable and enjoyable place to work in. And this week, the better deal for an IPS display is this LG model here. And LG, as usual, is going for that shiny black metal, not metal, plastic, metal, I wish. That shiny body on there. Yeah, it's available right now. The best price for it is over at Staples, and it's available online or in store, so whichever you prefer. Definitely ordering from Staples website. The fact that they offer free next day delivery on order, if I remember right, it's over $50 or something like that. Anyway, that's how I got my chair here, and quite a few things in terms of office supply around my desk. So definitely a place where, yeah, if you can't spend the time to go there, or maybe your day is over already and you didn't manage to go shopping for that, well, you have the option to get it delivered for free instead of having to drive yourself over there and get one, and get asked the usual question about finding everything, and do you want the extended warranty with that, right? So I know that personally sometimes I'd rather go without those, you know what I mean? So yeah, you have the option to get that online if you prefer. Otherwise, yeah, they're in store as well. If you're looking for something more portable, the smartphones I've picked this week, well, they're all relatively recent models. The Galaxy A5 here is the most affordable I've picked this week. And yeah, usually I go with some of the older models that are underrated and stuff like that. Or the stuff from OnePlus that you have to order online. But the thing is, yeah, it's not, I think it's the best option, but it's not everybody's deal. So this week I try to approach that question from a slightly different point of view. So yeah, the A5, not battery autonomy on this model reportedly is very good, but yeah, it's not a very powerful handset. It doesn't have a very high-tech camera or anything like that, but the thing is, it's going to cover the basics very well for very little money, especially if you're looking to get one of those affordable data plans, or maybe even pay as you go. Because yeah, even with a smartphone, you don't necessarily need a data plan with your providers. Wi-Fi is easy to find, so if being connected all the time is not a priority for you, and you just want something that maybe every once in a while you can connect to a public Wi-Fi to do the rest of your things, well, and definitely have Wi-Fi at home, right? Most of us have it at the office as well. So the A5 is definitely an option fit for that, and since you can buy it unlocked without any contract, and it's easy to find in multiple places, well, you can grab that and just attach it to a mobile plan for your phone instead. It's pretty easy to bring your own phone that way. Otherwise, several providers, well, pretty much every Canadian mobile providers do have it in store as well. That way you're 100% certain that it's tuned for their network to start up with and everything like that. But with the A5, your coverage is pretty good to start up with. In terms of what kind of apps it's capable to run, well, as you see, we've got the usuals covered pretty well. So yeah, Minecraft, Hearthstone, Microsoft Word, even PlayerUnknown's Battleground. Yes, you can play that on your smartphone. With a cheaper handset like the A5, you can expect that it's not going to be able to switch between apps all that quick, especially the more demanding one like games. But still, once you're in there, it's going to run them fairly well. And yeah, being a model from 2017, you don't have to worry too much about support dropping soon or anything like that either. So yeah, low cost but fairly capable little handset if you don't want to spend much and want all of your options open. Otherwise, if you want to invest a lot more, the Galaxy S8 would probably be my pick. Yeah, you get the full flagship treatment in there. Yes, the S9 is out, but the main differences between the two is, well, the S9 has definitely a better camera on it. So yeah, that camera is pretty interesting, I gotta say. But yeah, otherwise, screen is similar, battery life is very similar as well, even though it was supposed to be better. Performance are really not bad on this one, even though they raised it a tiny bit for the S9. So yeah, by buying something that is 1 year old, you really do not sacrifice much in terms of anything really. A camera on this was the best of its generation already. So for the mobile photographer or anything like that, especially if you have a budget to pay for a premium phone but don't necessarily want to pay an extra. I've seen that available from $0 on a 2-year contract from several mobile providers. So even if you buy it from your provider, that thing still is one of the cheap options, and considering that, yeah, it was an excellent smartphone last year, one of the most premium one, well, you get a lot of feature for what most people consider free, even though, yeah, you pay more for your data plan when you get an attached smartphone. But still, that's kind of a deal that most people would be very comfortable with. And yeah, in terms of what it's capable to do, we've got slightly better performance all over the board compared to the A5. And yeah, overall, very premium phone. All the bells and whistle except those dynamic emojis, the new camera, and a few things like that, but most of us won't miss those features. Otherwise, the iPhone 8 is the other pick I made yesterday, and I see the price is, yeah, it's holding still. It's not really moving very far. So yeah, it's the traditional Apple phone. So yeah, you don't have the headphone jacks already in this one, but at least you do not have, the notch, the glass back, or you still have the option to unlock with a fingerprint rather than facial recognition on this one, which is faster than facial recognition. So overall, I'm a little bit more comfortable than the iPhone 8 than the iPhone 10. Obviously, you apply your own judgment there. There's, I I think it's $100, maybe even $200, depending on where you get them. Between the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 10, both were released the same year, and yeah, the iPhone 8 is a little bit less capable, but overall, I feel it's a more sound design. Even though always apply a pinch of salt with Apple when you talk about quality of design, of obviously they definitely do cut corners, especially in terms of well, anything that wouldn't make it convenient for you to leave. They really put their barbs on you and try to prevent you from going away, which is one of the least attractive quality I can find in mobile device designer, personally. Know that everybody else not doing it to a certain degree, but yeah, Apple's walled garden has pretty substantial walls compared to everybody else. But yeah, with that said, it's capable of running quite a bit of thing, and if for you playing Fortnite on your smartphone is a priority, well, the thing is, yeah, they have the exclusivity on that for now. So there's all kinds of rumors flying around about the Android version of Fortnite. Some people say that it's going to be exclusive to the Galaxy Note for a while. So yeah, that makes me believe that yeah, if Fortnite is a must for you, you probably want to stick with the iPhone unless you can wait maybe 6 months before you buy your new phone. But if you're listening to this, I'm assuming you're in the market now. Otherwise, for tablets, typically those options are you're going to be relying on Wi-Fi more and won't necessarily have a data plan for that, so that makes those devices a little bit more interesting for the young ones and stuff like that. With the caveat that yeah, most of those things require an account that an adult must set, and they don't necessarily have parental control. So yeah, there's a little bit of a conundrum there. So for instance, with the Chromebook that I have here, this one is capable of running both Android and Chrome OS, which means that you will need a Google account. And at least I think there are some family settings that you can use so that the young ones have their own account and you can keep an eye on it. I think minors are allowed with supervision and a few things like that that, for instance, Apple doesn't have. You absolutely need a credit card in order to run an iPad, for instance. So keep that in mind. So I think the Google environment is a little bit more kid-friendly. And I think they will take it to our a little bit more before, you know, starting to data mine what your kids are doing and the ads they serve them and all of that kind of things, simply because, well, the advertising provider is also the operating system manager. Obviously, there are several reasons to be uncomfortable with that too, but on a more positive note, the convertible Chromebook is, well, that thing is very versatile. As I said, it can run either the full feature desktop Google Chrome on it, so you don't have to necessarily deal with mobile version of browsers, which don't always support all the features of websites properly. So you've got full websites. You don't have to deal with cut features like what we have with apps and stuff like that. But for those times where you want an app, I mean app, not nap. especially a convertible Chromebook like this one becomes something very versatile, and you can use it as several different things. And for a lot of people, it's going to tick all the boxes, really. You can go online easily with that. You can handle email, social media, video chats and stuff like that. It's pretty much able to do most of the things a lot of people would do with a computer, except without the viruses, without the high maintenance cost, and usually the way those things work. And yeah, personally, I love my Chromebook, but for instance, some things go wrong with your device. Well, no biggie. Sure, those things are not the most repairable things out there, which ain't great, obviously, but at least it's easy to just buy a new one, and as soon as you log in, you're going to find the same bookmark, the same browsing history, and you're going to be able to find all your files right off the bat, because those things operate off the cloud for the most part. So essentially, for anyone in the family that's not necessarily tech savvy, that's maybe making their first step with technology and stuff like that, but you just want to give them access to how would I say, the connected life and stuff like that, it's definitely a great pick for that sort of user. Definitely able to connect to most services that people use daily and stuff like that. And yeah, you've got your basic needs covered on this pretty well. And if what you're looking for is a travel companion, battery autonomy usually is pretty good. And yeah, it's easy to find public Wi-Fi nowadays, so why not? Instead of investing in a mobile plan, well, if you don't absolutely need the mobile plan, that might be a better option. Yeah, you're able to run quite a few things in there, including Minecraft. Obviously, you're going to be running the Android version in this case. And for gaming, yeah, a lot of things going through the Google Play Store. Even though, yeah, you've got access to all those web-based games as well. So there's a lot available in there just in terms of entertainment, even though those might not be necessarily the big names, the big license stuff and so forth, but you'd be surprised how many options you have in there, either from the web or the App Store, really. So lots of options, and yeah, social media, watching videos, listening to music, all of that is covered. Managing your photos, there's a lot you can do on that without spending a dime, without having to buy an antivirus, and those things are pretty easy to maintain. So not a bad pick. But yeah, if you have more ambitions in terms of gaming, well, the Nintendo Switch is definitely the uncontested champion in terms of gaming on the go. And sure, you can hook it to the TV at home and all of that, and then it's slightly more powerful even, but on the go, that's where that device shines the most, because nobody else is having that kind of game playing that well on something you can carry with you. And prices are still pretty good. Best Buy still have their $380 price on them, which makes them cheaper than an iPad. And yeah, Nintendo is a little bit less intrusive with the little ones and stuff like that. So if your goal is to keep the little ones entertained while traveling and stuff like that, without those creepy ads and that manipulation we can expect from free-to-play games on the mobile platforms, the Switch is a pretty safe zone in comparison. Not that it's 100% safe, but it's the closest we've got. I'd definitely be a lot more comfortable giving that to kids than, let's say, an iPad. And yeah, if you're looking for, yeah, Fortnite's going to play that very well. Hear a lot of good comments of people playing Fortnite a lot more now that they can't carry it around with them, especially on the Switch. Same thing with Minecraft, Stardew Valley. You won't have that on any other mobile platform except, you know, a PC. Same thing with NBA 2K18. You need a pretty hefty, pretty expensive laptop in order to play that. You can play that on a device that's under $400 here. So yeah, if gaming away from your desk is a big priority for you, I definitely look into the Switch. Because yeah, it's relatively cost effective for that, and being a beginning of, well, relative beginning of its product life, we can expect a pretty good go on this one compared to, let's say, the PS4 or Xbox One, which are probably about to get replaced by a newer device anyway. So on the long run, probably a safer pick at this point. Otherwise, yeah, there's the iPad, which is definitely the market leader at this point. So that means that you have, with the iPad, you have probably the most apps. The App Store, one thing I found when researching mobile games recently for the TechAdvisor database, I found out that a lot of games which actually say that, yeah, you can buy it and it's not going to bug you with ads or ask you for microtransactions and stuff like that. Often they're like that on iOS, but when you get on the Android side of things, because the market is a little bit, well, it's a little bit more subject to piracy, among other things, but overall, a lot of game developers add well, unsuccessful results with the traditional fee-to-play approach. So a lot of games which are microtransaction free on iOS often are free to play, and you have in-app purchases on the Android side of things. In best case scenario, you can either buy it outright or get the ad-supported version. So yeah, it can be a plus for that. A little bit safer. It's not, and yeah, one thing that has been discovered about free-to-play and ad-supported mobile games, often they end up costing you more just because of the amount of data they take out of your plan. And yeah, that inflates your monthly expenses instead of you buy it once and after that you're done, right? So something to keep in mind. Yeah, that means most accessories. The App Store is definitely a stronger proposition at this point than the Google Play Store, which has, well, weaker options and, as I said, more ad support and stuff like that. Even though usually you pay less on Android. Yeah, often games get published to iOS sooner. So, slightly better option for entertainment on the go. Obviously, there's some productivity options in there. Although I would warn against getting the keyboard cover and stuff like that, or the pen. I mean, if you find it fills a niche for you, why not? But keep in mind that adding that $150 pen and that $150 keyboard, you end up spending a lot of money, where maybe a laptop would have come with all of that right off the bat and have been a lot more capable of doing productivity and drawing and stuff like that with, compared to an iPad, which, let's face it, is very limited in what's capable to do. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Don't overinvest in accessories is my general advice, because often you end up overspending. But yeah, in terms of what you can run on that, as we can see, we've got a slightly longer list. And yeah, there's something to say for the ease of use that comes from using what is essentially the market leader. It makes stuff a lot easier, and when people start thinking about, oh yeah, maybe I should do a mobile app for my service, well, they're probably going to think of the iPad/iPhone first, and then start covering the alternatives later. So as a result, you get slightly better service, especially on, well, on both the software and hardware fronts, if we consider accessories hardware. So there's value in that. And for laptops, I start with something, fairly humble. Although it's costing a fair chunk of money, but if your eyes are maybe not the best or anything like that, we've got a 15-inch screen, which is fairly sizable by laptop standard. It's 15 inch is still the most common screen size for a laptop. Your number pad is built into the keyboard on this one, and a few things like that. And the screen is also a lower resolution, which, yeah, it's a downside. Technically, it's objectively a lesser option, but for people with not non-optimal eyesight, let's call it that way, one of the side effects of that low resolution is that everything appears larger naturally, instead of having going in settings and zooming stuff out. So yeah, some people tend to prefer a screen with that configuration compared to an HD one. So not necessarily a loss all over the line there. Still, it's not the best option for multitasking because of that screen, but it's capable of handling the usual fairly well. Let's see. Because right now, the list of apps that display on the screen right now, it's based on popularity and stuff like that. And one thing that definitely happens a lot is that, yeah, people don't tend to necessarily pick Microsoft Word all that much. It's kind of assumed that it works, but yes, it's on the list, and it's got 5-star rating. And for reference, 3 stars means that you meet recommended requirements from the developer. So 5-star, you exceed that. You basically could use that program at an expert level, and that would satisfy that would almost automatically satisfy your needs on that point. So yeah, if all you do is want to go online, work in Word, Excel, that sort of stuff, it's definitely going to do that. And as we see, it's capable of doing quite a few extra things as well. Fortnite runs at 1 star, which means minimal recommended setting. So yes, you can play Fortnite on this. Or yeah, Premiere at 1 star, so you can edit your own video on that. It's not going to be terrible. Um, so yeah, decent, versatile pick for most people out there. And yeah, the low-cost laptops tends to be the jack of all trade that don't necessarily shine in any area, but they're going to get most of your bases covered very well for relatively low money. And as you invest more, you usually start sacrificing something somewhere. You're either going to sacrifice portability in order to get a more powerful laptop, or you're going to sacrifice on horsepower in order to get something that is easy to carry around and will last a long time on its battery. But before we start sacrificing one or the other, there's this Inspiron 15-inch laptop, which is a slight step up from the first laptop we saw. So it's $100 more. And it's got a full HD screen, so definitely better for multitasking, a little bit more powerful, more capable, and for creative tasks, it's going to fare quite a bit better. The one thing that might be a negative to some people is you can only buy this online right now, and yeah, best spot to buy it right now is from Amazon, but it's covered by their Amazon Prime service, so free deliveries and all that. So yeah, I'm pretty comfortable recommending this one overall, even though you have to it's definitely an online only sort of option. So depending if you're comfortable with that sort of thing or not. And in terms of what it's capable to run, well, as you see, it's roughly the same thing for Fortnite, Premiere, and quite a few other apps. But having more screen space means that programs with complicated UI like audio editing stuff and even painting tools and things like that are going to work a lot better just by virtue of the better screen. And if we spend even more, then we start looking at, for instance, this convertible laptop. It's only a 13-inch screen, but yeah, that thing's easy to carry around. Battery autonomy is pretty high, so if you have to go for long periods of times without being able to plug your laptop in and stuff like that, it's definitely worth looking into. So it's the sort of laptop I would recommend for people that work away from their desk, or students who have to dash from one classroom to the other the whole day, and it's more and more common to have power outlet at your desk in the classroom nowadays, but sometimes they fail, they break, or sometimes something happened that essentially makes you unable to connect to power. So, yeah, it's a little bit, you're not going to stress as much about your battery level with something like that compared to, let's say, a gaming laptop, or even the two I presented before, which definitely have lesser battery life than this. It's also going to be significantly faster at opening programs, or even booting up if you like to shut down your laptop completely between uses in order to save on battery life a little. Then yeah, this is going to boot a lot faster thanks to a solid state drive. And yeah, the downside of that is that it's a much smaller storage space, so you could fill that up, especially if you absolutely want to carry with you all your photos, all your videos, and if you have a digital collection. But I've seen people have their family album on smaller hard drives than this, no problem. So yeah, not a big deal. 2056 gigabyte is large enough for most people. In terms of what you can run on it, well, it's relatively similar to what we had before. So it's high resolution on a small screen. So uh, maybe if you're going to spend prolonged periods of times on your laptop every once in a while, maybe you'd be more comfortable setting something. A space on the desk where you have a larger monitor, keyboard, and mouse in order to be spend more than 30 minutes working on something, but you're going to save a lot of stress on your back, shoulders, and all of that carrying this around, especially if you spend a lot of time away from your desk. And yeah, in terms of what it's capable to run, it can run quite a few in demand software, no problem. Yeah, 1 star in even for the New West, World of Warcraft and stuff like that. So, yeah, you have definitely something to stay occupied while staying at the hotel or something like that. Maybe waiting for during lunch in the cafeteria or anything like that. Um, they're not. It's not a gaming system, definitely not. But there's definitely quite a few games that still will run on this. If we go the complete opposite route in terms of upgrades, in terms of budgets, we have this 17-inch laptop currently available from Best Buy for the most part. It's got a pretty significant rebate if you're willing to grab the open box online from them. And that thing is definitely capable of a lot more. Big thing to keep in mind is not only is it a gaming laptop, which means that it's going to be thicker, heavier, hotter, and um, noisier to use as well. But it's also a 17-inch model, so those make great pop-up workstations. So if you have a spot in your home that you can't dedicate to a computer, you need that space to do other stuff than having a computer there from time to time. Well, this sort of computer is small enough that you can just fold it, stash it somewhere while you use the Surface, and then bring it back up for whenever you need it. The thing it's definitely too large to do, or at least for me to recommend, is to carry that around on a regular basis. If you're going to school with that thing, it's going to be very taxing on you. Yeah, I used to work at the university in IT. I've seen enough 20-something-year-olds with back problems to tell you that, yeah, investing in something small when you have to carry a computer around is not a joke. Um, Besides, for this price here, you could easily get, let's say, a more humble laptop and maybe grab a game console like the Switch, or even have a stationary computer in your room or in the dorm to do your gaming on if you mostly play on from your desk anyway. Then going with this, really a 17-inch laptop, and that thing is, yeah, 3 kilos for a gaming system is actually not bad. Those things often reach the 4 kilo range. So yeah, but still not something I would recommend lugging around all day. You're going to be starving. Well, constantly looking for a power outlet in order to power that thing, and yeah, it's going to be well, it will hurt you if you do that too often. I've seen it way too often to actually recommend lugging that around, no matter how tempting it is. Um, Often trying to have your classroom computer being also your gaming computer just isn't worth the sacrifice you have to put in there. But yeah, good pick, as I said. If you don't have a computer desk, you're going to use your computer from, let's say, the from the kitchen table, or some desk that sometimes you have to use for papers instead and books and stuff like that, then it's a better option for that. But don't expect to carry that around in class. But yeah, in terms of what it's capable of, it's going to perform better with video editing, quite a lot better, actually. You're going to have a better time in stuff like Photoshop as well. You know, all those graphic applications that do take advantage of having dedicated graphic hardware in there. So yeah, overall better computer and all of that, more capable of everything than what I've displayed before. But portability is definitely an issue in there, especially, you know, not a big deal if it's for home, but if you plan of carrying a laptop around, not my pick. And yeah, back to the portability spectrum of laptops, and this one is, yeah, $1,300, so pretty sizable investment in there. We've got this 13-inch Ultrabook from Dell, and it's currently available from the Microsoft Store, online and in stores. And yeah, that tends to be one of my favorite places to grab a laptop. They have a pretty steady rotation of devices, and they really cut on cost on a regular basis. They're not inflated. I don't feel they're inflating prices as much as they're just rolling through whatever is priced attractively at the time, and don't deal with, you know, huge inventories and stuff like that. So overall, yeah, I like those guys. Also like the fact that they usually sell what they call signature edition, so you have fewer bundled software on it, because most of that software is not stuff you will want to run anyway. So you end up with a brand new computer which is mostly occupied by software that you don't even want and want make the whole thing slower to run. Well, you don't have that issue with them, or at least not as much. So yeah, great device overall. You've got a smaller hard drives than what we had before. As I said, I've seen people having their entire family photo album on a 128 gigabyte of storage before. But yeah, 120 is on the smaller side, especially if you're planning on getting a computer that is going to be your sole computer. If you have one computer to take around with you and you have a computer at your desk, then it's probably not even a problem. But 120 gig for everything in your life, some of us can do it, some of us can't. So just take a look at your current hard drive and see how much space you probably need in your next computer before investing in something that small. But Yeah, great to take with you. The XPS line is Dell's premium line of computers, and the XPS 13 Ultrabook rank pretty high on a consistent basis for anything that um, basically needs good power on the go and last a long time on a charge. So yeah, if you work mostly away from your desk and need to look good while you do it, that's definitely a good option to pick for that reason. Um, so yeah, more you mean more business with that sort of thing. The screen resolution is much higher than usual, so the things start zoomed out right from the start on this. But yeah, keep in mind, small laptop, all that. So if you plan on using it for more than 13 minutes in a row every once in a while, maybe just have a spot on the desk somewhere when you can hook it up to a full-size monitor, keyboard, and mouse. Just to be more comfortable to work for prolonged periods. But on the go, this is going to save you a lot of, well, literal pain simply by being so light and quite capable, especially for the size. And yeah, here's basically the compatibility table for you to take a look through. Check if you see anything in there that is among your musts. And yeah, not a gaming laptop, but there's a lot of games that work on it, no problem, including Fortnite, including Stardew Valley. So yeah, if you need to, stay entertained in the while you stay at the hotel or the work camp or wherever you spend your time with your computer, it's definitely capable of handling quite a lot there. And for stationary computers, let's see. My pick, which are holding so far in terms of price, there's this HP 8200 Elite that you can buy. It's a refurbished model and it's available on Amazon. Those were business grade machines back in the day, and they've been uh, basically upgraded, and the software is updated, so you've got Windows 10 on this right off the bat, and those things were meant to last, so I'm quite comfortable recommending them as a starting computer for someone that maybe cannot invest fully in a computer yet. And yeah, they're a pretty good value, especially for that price. And you can do quite a bit of things on even a desktop computer for under $300 in this case. So yeah, you want to edit audio? Well, Audacity is going to run that fairly well. Maybe just get a good resolution monitor to be able to, have a good view of all those interface those wave lines and all of that. Audio editing works a lot better on a high resolution screen simply because the UI are pretty intense usually. So definitely one of the reasons to get a good quality monitor on that. But as you saw earlier, you can get a really good one for $110, and yeah, 22-inch is much larger than anything you will find on a laptop as well. So yeah, better workspace to start with. So essentially, this here could make you a very good workstation for homework and doing research online, and Facebook, emails, all that stuff, watching Netflix for Probably $450 would do everything you want. Probably don't have Wi-Fi, but you can add that feature in for $20, just a USB dongle at the back, and yeah, easy peasy. So yeah, if you can't spend much on a computer, I would probably go with that. And if you can't afford to spend $100 on a computer monitor, well, you can always hook it up to your TV. If I remember right, there is an HDMI output on this. So yeah, just hook it up to your TV, use a wireless keyboard and mouse. What about? Yeah, it's there's a lot of ways to save money by going this route instead of probably investing a little bit too much in a laptop right off the bat, especially if you need full access to Word, Excel, and etc. We've got a 1-star rating in most of them, and I'll need to look why that is exactly. Obviously, it's older hardware in there and all of that. It also ranks at 0-star for Minecraft, but I'm pretty sure I ran Minecraft on computers that were even older than this. But yeah, just keep in mind you would be running it under recommended specs. But the thing is, you've got quite a few doors open right off the bat, and yeah, as some kind of intermediary, a computer you would buy before being able to invest in the desktop computer you need. It's a pretty good stepping stone there. You can just keep your keyboard, mouse, monitor, speakers, and all of that, and just replace the box afterwards. So yeah, not a bad stepping stone, or a computer for kids and their homework and stuff like that for minimal investment that will last you a few years, no problem there. So not necessarily a bad way to save money, especially if you're willing to maybe go in there and do some upgrades yourself. And this one is that's an unusual deal. That computer was off the market for quite a while, but it popped out recently on London Drugs website when I just tried to see, well, is this thing still available or not, or should I just retire it? But no, there it was at a pretty tempting price too, $700 for a computer which, sure, it's not last gen, doesn't have a solid state drive in there, and the graphics card from it is on the lower end from the last generation, but still, it's capable of doing a lot for $700. And despite a few things being not ideal, and despite the fact that, yes, you're buying that from the same store that sells band-aids and mouthwash and all of that, still London Drugs is a drugstore in the in Western Canada, and they have a pretty legit IT section usually. They're pretty good at for cameras and even computers to some degree. Every once in a while, something comes up from there that is definitely worth your attention. So that's why I pay attention to it. And yeah, if you're able to look past the fact that you're buying a computer from a drugstore, this is definitely worth looking into. And here's one of the big reason. I'm saying it again, only $700. But you reach recommended specs in Fortnite, you reach recommended specs in Minecraft, 2 stars in Premiere Pro, so not too bad in there. Not necessarily something I would recommend for, you know, 4K editing or anything like that, or very complicated scenes, but it's still not too shabby there. Audacity, obviously, 5 star there. 3 stars at Tom Clancy Rainbow Six Siege. Paint tool size, yeah, 3 stars. Is it? No, 5 stars. So very good performance there. So yeah, you can be very creative for very little money on this computer, or you can game a lot. There's a lot of stuff that still works fine on a GTX 960. You're not going to earn bragging rights or anything like that, but what this computer offers in spade is that you've got lots of door opens to you. All of the pretty much all options are open to you right off the bat. Not sure how easy it would be to upgrade in future. You can definitely improve the memory fairly easily, upgrade the storage fairly easily. You can probably replace that graphics card for something beefier too. Just the thing with usually factory built computers, usually, yeah, maybe the power supply might or might not be able to support it right off the bat. So it could get a little bit complicated to upgrade than, let's say, a custom build system. But you've got most of your option open for $700. So yeah, if you need to do a lot and don't have a lot of money to do it, worth considering. And speaking of custom build system, I like to include those build to order system from Memory Express, simply because, well, one, they're my local computer store. They have stores in BC, Alberta, Manitoba. Did they open? No, I mean Saskatchewan. I'm not sure if they did Manitoba yet, but basically they're growing pretty fast these days. And yeah, really like shopping there. One of the few places where I would actually recommend getting the in-store warranty, because, well, my experience with their support department is pretty stellar. So yeah, very high opinion of those guys. And they list clearly everything they would use to build every of those recommended system. And obviously you can get to customize them whichever way you want, but assuming that you don't necessarily know enough about how computers are built and stuff like that to, you know, make your own builds, well, you get kind of the best of both worlds. You get hardware configuration, which is already proven and tested, that is at a fixed price, fixed availability, and yeah, you basically don't need to juggle parts and stuff like that, and or anything like that. You don't need to know much about computers, but you get something that is going to be very durable, simply because the pieces used in there are much easier to upgrade or have more of a buffer. They're more future-proof than most of the factory built system. Those things are a lot easier to upgrade and maintain for the years to come. And that's a big deal, especially for gaming, where, Well, basically, your video card is going to age faster than the rest of your system. And what I mean by that is simply that technology and graphics tends to progress faster than technology we have for the rest of the computer, especially in terms of gaming and what games are going to demand in terms of specs when you buy them. So yeah, probably 3 years down the line, you will want to get a new video card in, and that's what I did with mine. I think 4 years in, I paid $150 for a new graphics card, and bam, 3 years later, I still have 60 FPS and quite a few games I play. So, on the long run, those things pay for themselves. Cheaper on a monthly basis to use with the price of games for PC and stuff like that than, let's say, if I were to buy a gaming console like an Xbox or PlayStation 4. So those things are more of a long-term investment, but in my opinion, they're definitely worth it. Even if you don't necessarily care about the big PC Master Race stuff of, you know, playing in 4K at 60 FPS and stuff like that, even if you're not that lofty in your expectations, you still win in the end in terms of money. So yeah, this one is quite a capable one. We only have a GTX 1050 Ti in there. Yeah, 1080 would be nice. We've got a solid state drive in there, so it's going to boot pretty fast, but with 1 terabyte hard drive, it's usually enough to store most games. You need a pretty substantial game collection to fill that up. And yeah, obviously, you're able to do quite a bit of creative stuff as well. We only have... It's an i5, isn't it? No, it's a Ryzen 3. So definitely a capable CPU, but you know, not a very effective one. So for a lot of game, the processor don't necessarily matter that much. You're going to see that more as an important point for simulations or games with, how would I say, stuff that the GPU doesn't handle necessarily so much, like, let's say, Minecraft, for instance, or if you have base building in a game, or, you know, those sort of features. But if you're playing a corridor shooter or anything like that, like Call of Duty and Battlefield and stuff like that, CPU has a much lesser role on those titles. So yeah, this low-cost gaming system is going to do very well with a lot of games, but not necessarily all of them. If you like to go more, as I said, simulation building and, you know, dynamic environments and stuff like that, then you might want to invest in something with slightly stronger CPU, but yeah, it's by no means an underpowered system. And as I said, those things are easy to upgrade. So CPU is not usually one that I really consider upgrading that much, simply because most of the time when you want to move to the next generation, well, you need to replace most of the computer anyway. So yeah, it's not as, how would I say, cost efficient than replacing everything else in the computer, really. So usually that's the one piece I don't touch, and I invest heavily from the start so that I don't have to touch it later. Although there's definitely some options there too. Just that, yeah, I'm not assuming too much technical acumen from people that need the tech advisor services either. So if we upgrade the notch, so $200 more roughly. So let's see in there. So yeah, we double the RAM. We have essentially same amount of storage here. Slightly more powerful on the CPU, but we still didn't go all the way on it. And yeah, overall, most things got better. Although last one I had a really good base to start up with. So on a system like this one, you've got, well, it's the same scenario. Easy to upgrade, easy to maintain, but with a stronger base and even faster. With 16 gigs of RAM, we see a huge increase in performance, especially in creative software. So if you do video editing in Premiere a lot, and you know, study in multimedia or anything along those lines, this is going to do a lot better, even in simulation-y games like Ark, or I think Planet Coaster is another one that, yeah, it's hard to get 5-star on it because of its simulation aspect. It becomes pretty demanding. But we already reach a recommended specs for Planet Coaster, which is going to be more than enough for most. So yeah, great performance all across the board from this computer. So yeah, I'd say it's a $1,500 well invested. Otherwise, if we want to go even higher, and yeah, an i7 of this caliber is going to make a big difference when rendering videos, for instance, which can take a lot of time. So if you're working with videos a lot, you're definitely going to see an improvement there, and a few games are going to run a little better. But as you saw from the last table, our last system was already reaching 5 stars in most areas, right? So it's not necessarily going to make a gigantic difference in gaming, but you're going to be able to crunch much tougher tasks with this one. And with a 1070 Ti GPU in there, you're starting to look at very fluid action games, probably at pretty high resolution too. So you can bust past the 1080p resolution here, maybe go 4K. If that sort of thing is on your radar, definitely worth the investment there, even though we're almost touching the $2,000 price point here. But yeah, as you see, we've got quite an increase in compatibility there. We didn't get any additional stars from Adobe Premiere, which I'm a tiny bit skeptical about, but it's going to render video files faster. It's not necessarily going to run that much smoother than our previous candidate, but it's going to render those files a lot faster. So yeah, anyone who has worked in video before, you know how much a pain it is to render files, and you will want anything that you can get your hands on to shorten that time. CPU is where you want to invest there. Although GPU is starting to be put to the task a little bit more nowadays. Yeah, there's quite a few things that perform better. ZBrush, for instance, is known as It's that 3D modeling software that you can basically sculpt models like clay, more or less. And yeah, that program doesn't use the GPU at all. It's all in the CPU, so having an i7 in there is going to make your life a lot better, especially if you work with high resolution models. So yeah, overall, if maybe not worth investing in this system for gaming sole purpose, but if you're a gamer who also gets a lot of creativity done on your computer, definitely worth looking into, especially if you make a living doing creative work or hope to. That extra money might end up paying for itself, essentially. So yeah, pretty good system overall for that sort of thing. And those were my recommendations. Overall, things held up pretty well. None of my picks ran out of inventory from what I've seen so far. So yeah, overall, things are my recommendation are pretty much holding from where they were yesterday. So thanks for dropping by. I hope you have a great weekend, whether you spend it shopping or not. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.